Welcome to Share Talk, the only podcast where investors come first.
Hello and welcome to Share Talk. I am Bonnie Hughes. We are speaking with Kavango Resources. They are one of the largest landholders in Botswana, with licenses spread over 2 prospective base metal projects and 1 rare earth project, all accessible by road. And here to tell us about the company is Ben Turney, CEO. Hello, Ben.
Hi there, Bonnie. Thanks for having me.
And we noticed the other day that Kavango announced a placing of £750,000, and it was oversubscribed by double that, but you only took the £750,000. How are you planning to allocate the funds on your projects?
So over the last year, we put a lot of effort into building up Kavango's infrastructure. We've got, as you say, 3 highly prospective, very large projects in the country. We've got 14,500 square kilometres to cover, which is a huge amount of ground. I think this is one of the things that people, when they look at the maps, they don't necessarily put into context for what that actually means in terms of how much work we have to do. So our business model is fully scalable. Kavango's history, it was underfunded in the past until I joined the company. Over the last 18 months, I've helped the company raise over £5 million. So that's obviously been a sea change for the business. And as a result of that, we've been able to invest significantly into our operations. But what we've built is a very lean model that can survive. So difficult market conditions like we're going through at the moment, if we have to think about survival first. But we're also an ambitious company as well. So we've built a very scalable model. So what we're now going to do with these extra funds that we've raised, we're going to take on more people. We're going to build up more capacity in country so that we can start doing a lot more work across our portfolio. So it's really quite simple. The more money that we can put into the business, the quicker we can work through our amazing projects.
And I guess this raise that you just did will take you through for your acceleration program for the year.
Yeah, exactly. So our funding takes us now fully funded through to early next year for the current work program. I've got to emphasize that word. That's the current plan as it stands. But what I think, again, a lot of people have missed is the financing strategy that I've built next year is going to really come into its own. We've got nearly £1 million worth of warrants at 2.5p that will expire in April. We've got £3 million worth of warrants at 4.25p that will expire in May. We've got another 3 million at 8.5p that expire in August. And now, thanks to the raise that we had at the weekend, we've got another 1.5 million in December next year. Now, I know obviously a lot of people think, oh, well, that means a lot more dilution. Well, it doesn't, because it's dilution based on performance. So the only reason those warrants will come in is if we deliver in the field, then obviously our share price will go up and warrant holders will exercise. But what we've built for ourselves now is a runway for us to land the plane on. So that financing strategy, I think next year is really going to come into its own. And I think we're now going to, once market conditions improve and once we're able to deliver some more results, I've set the business up so that our stock can really motor forward next year as we move into it.
Yes, good results usually mean a good share price. So let's just hope that's how that works out.
Well, unfortunately, Bonnie, it doesn't always work out like that. And this is something I am going to be talking about in the coming days. Unfortunately, there are darker forces at work in this market. And I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist here. I've obviously done a lot of work on this throughout my career as an investigative writer. But there are parties out there who attack companies like ours. And I'm afraid to say that good results do not necessarily mean decent rises in share prices. And unfortunately, Kavango recently has come under an attack like that. It's something I've been very aware of. I've spotted it early and I've taken action to nip it all in the bud. There's still a bit of fun and games going on in the background, but these guys are going to see I've got 1 or 2 tricks up my sleeve. So watch this space.
Well, the current market is affecting the whole sector, so not just your stock. So it's been very difficult, tumultuous times. So then let's move on to the great red spot located on your Kavango Suture Zone, an iron oxide copper gold target. Please tell us about this new exciting large-scale target.
Well, it's big. I mean, that's the simple thing. It's very, very big. Now, obviously, we don't know what's down there yet. We're working on 4 specific data sets. So this idea of an IOCG at the Great Red Spot specifically has been around since the late 1990s. Jeremy Brett, who's been working very closely with us, helping us really sort of sort out the geophysical side of our strategy. He worked on this project 20 years ago. So it's something that he was always aware of. We didn't really talk about it last year until we got the initial results back on KSZ DD001, which was the kilometre deep hole that we drilled into the KSZ. And at the bottom of that, we hit 50 meters of Proterozoic. And within that Proterozoic, we hit a really interesting level of magnetite. Now, magnetite is a form of iron oxide, and the percentage of magnetite that we hit gave us, it was a bit of a head scratcher, but as soon as Jeremy saw it, obviously everything just fell into place. It's all, hang on a minute, this could be an indicator of the original IOCG model that was proposed for the Great Red Spot. Now, at the time, this was obviously 6 months ago, this was just all sounded so big that, you know, we didn't want to sort of rush to publish anything about this because we needed to do a lot more work for us as a company to have confidence this actually could be a lead that we could pursue. So the next 3 data sets that we pulled together are airborne magnetic data, ground gravity data, and what's called AMT, so audio magnetotelluric surveys. Now, these are all 3 different forms of remote surveying. We've thoroughly covered the ground. We're doing some more AMT work at the moment, but what I'm delighted to say is that all 3 of those separate surveys, they're all pointing in the same direction. So there is something very big down there that's giving off a very, very similar signature to what's known at Olympic Dam. Now, obviously, the comparison, which is one of the world's largest ore deposits, I mean, Olympic Dam is huge. One of the big differences, however, of course, is that Olympic Dam is hosted in granite. We don't actually know what's in the depths of the Proterozoic. So there's more work that we're going to need to do on this. But at the moment, from the geophysical perspective, these 3 data sets, they're all pointing in the same direction. They're telling us that there's a very large, very dense, very magnetic body down there, which has a lot of alteration in it. That's what we're seeing on the AMT, that last type of survey. So it's a very, very extensive, very exciting development for Kavango, and it's sort of it's probably the most thorough exploration hypothesis we've had for the KSZ ever, and not least because it's backed up by what looks like a physical indicator in this magnetite.
And I guess once you've processed all of the geophysical data, then you're going to establish drill targets for sometime this year?
So in terms of when we actually go and drill this, I don't know yet, because we're also still pursuing the shallower nickel copper sulfide model. We've got a lot of TDEM work that we need to do first. Our hope is that if we can find some shallower targets for the nickel copper sulfide, and if the gods align, you know, if everything sort of works out for us, then we might well find that some of the drill holes that we can use to target those nickel copper sulfide targets might also at the same time be IOCG targets that we can pursue deeper. So we certainly are our plan is to go and drill this. The question is obviously when. What I'd say though is we have the right team in place to go and drill this. So Mindea have the right equipment, they've got the right experience, they've already more than proven their mettle with us. That's our drill partner. So yeah, we've now got quite a lot of work to do to make sure we can go and put the drill bit in the ground. We can go and test these targets properly. But the good news about the IOCG is it should be relatively straightforward to test. It's either there or it isn't, and we expect it will take probably somewhere in the region of 3 to 4 holes to test that thoroughly to see whether or not the geology is kind to us and there is what we think down there.
And so what's happening on the Kalahari Suture Zone, which is adjacent to the Great Red Spot?
Well, it runs sort of south, almost south from the Great Red Spot, the rest of the Kalahari Suture Zone. So we're now we're putting together the final touches on the very detailed comprehensive report on the proof of concept drill campaign that we ran. So that finished in February, the drilling. We've done a lot of work in terms of sort of petrology, assay testing, further geophysical surveying. We're putting together a very, very comprehensive exploration plan for next phases. But in summary, the next phase is going to be all about target acquisition. We've now got complete confidence in our exploration model, in the technologies that we're using, the combination of what's called time domain electromagnetic surveys and the AMT surveys that I mentioned earlier. We think we've got a real competitive edge with this, and the TDEM coverage that we have over the Kalahari Suture Zone, we've only done 9 surveys so far, Bonnie. You know, we could probably follow up with another 100 if we wanted to, and that would just be reconnaissance. I mean, this really is a very large scale project. So for now, our next focus is about building up a portfolio, a suite of drill targets, so that we can really, really go and sort of take this project forward, hopefully with partners on board.
Speaking about drill targets, the Ditau joint venture project, you announced that a drill contractor has agreed to accept approximately 50% of the cost at a premium in Kavango stock. That certainly provides some confidence in the target.
Well, I think Mindea have got confidence working with us. I mean, they are a wonderfully well-run operation. I mean, the way that they run their drill rigs, it's like a military operation. So last year, when there was a lot of COVID in Botswana, this is just sort of one example. They kept drilling operations were uninterrupted because their ship is so tightly run. There've obviously been a few issues with Kavango, and they have actually helped us learn quite a lot as well. You know, we've learned a lot about field operations and how to manage them thanks to our relationship with Mindea. But it's really, really pleasing that they did agree to take this contract. I think they've got a lot of faith in us as a business. They've obviously seen, they've been on this journey with us now since last April when we've really first started talking to them properly. So yeah, very complimentary. It's a great, wonderful working relationship, and we're really looking forward to expanding on that with not only more drilling with the current rig that's in the field, that once we finish the Ditau campaign, we will move either back to the KSZ or possibly to another area. We don't know yet where this drill rig's going to go to next. But also when we come to start drilling in the KCB as well. So we fully expect to build on this relationship so that it develops into a much more strategic, closer relationship. So it is all working very, very well.
And so unlike your other projects, which are base metals, Ditau is a rare earth element type of project.
Correct, yeah. So we're pursuing these carbonatite targets at the moment, which are quite complex. It's a proof of concept campaign at this stage. So effectively we're drilling geological holes to see if we can find carbonatite. If we can find carbonatite or indications of base metal mineralization, then we obviously know sort of what we can then do in terms of further work, which would be geophysical surveying work to look for more targets. So again, similar to what we've done in the KSZ, where we've done proof of concept drilling and we're now moving to target acquisition, it's going to be exactly the same down at Ditau. Proof of concept, moving over to target acquisition in advance of future drilling.
That's excellent. Well, thank you very much, Ben, for joining us, and we look forward to hearing your results and keeping up to date with your news.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us on Share Talk.
Thank you for listening. Remember to visit our website for more news and other podcasts at www.share-talk.com.